everybody.
Morning.
Welcome to Table Talk. Happy Memorial Day, and or whenever you're watching this, we're happy. So yes,
We're wearing stars and stripes.
there we go. Dun,
So,
dun, dun,
there you
dun.
go.
I don't know. That's like 4th of July. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. But anyway, we're glad that you're here, and summer is upon us. Graduation season. Lots of good things.
Absolutely.
And and then of course just everything that's been going on in our community and country. And
So sad.
it's a this kind of dichotomy between like the joy and celebration, but then also like the mourning and tragedy too. And I think a lot of us are trying to wrestle with how to,
and as a mom, processing that those parents don't get to celebrate with their kids, that's awful.
No, I know, it's a lot. So anyway, families. I'm with Pam Border.
Hi.
So Pam has been a wonderful longtime member here at Table Life. That's right?
1994.
That's a long time ago.
That's a long time ago.
It doesn't seem it, but it is.
Yeah.
Right. It makes me feel old.
That probably makes me feel old.
Anyway, yeah. So Pam, just briefly, what do you do? Your family?
Yep. So, like I said, I've been here since 1994. I came as a single person, and then I met my husband a couple of years later at the District Layman's Retreat, and it was all
love, all
love since then. Yeah, downhill. Yeah, it definitely wasn't uphill. It's been great. So, we have three amazing kids, adult kids now. One graduates in a week. Woo.
Yay!
And since like 1995 or 96, I've been working with the youth group. A long time, through lots of changes, ups and downs, great things, and so still hanging out doing youth ministry, loving on as many teens as we can love on. So
awesome. And what's your vocation?
I am an occupational therapist. I work in a nursing home in the Camp Hill area, so I've been doing that since 1994. I moved here. That's why I moved here, because I got a job here with that profession. So
awesome.
Yep. So
very cool. So you teach people how to do daily tasks and things, after
activities
surgeries
of daily living, and strokes
and
anything that someone needs to go into a skilled rehab for.
Right. Many things that we take for granted, right?
Yeah.
That you don't think about, like, oh, I can brush my hair and go walk to the bathroom and
Exactly. My family says I torment old people all day, which I kind of do.
I guess.
I make them get up. I make them do stuff. So
nice. Yeah. Well, speaking of old, we're growing. So Grow On wrapped up that message this weekend, and and talking about Jesus' ascension. It's Ascension Sunday, when he leaves the disciples, and there's this kind of weird period that I talked about the wall, kind of like that spiritual wall. So I'm just curious what kind of hit you when you were like listening to the message and the scripture itself, and what were you reflecting on?
I just always think it's a story that, it's like it's one day, it's not like Easter or Christmas or even some of the other stories. It's like, hey, we'll quick hit this, and then we move on to like Pentecost. And so it's not something that you really think about or focus on much. So it's always kind of neat to, and I don't know why I even underlined it. I always picture whenever like the two angels in my head, when I hear about it, I always think that they were with Jesus and not with the disciples. So that was like,
interesting.
Just to think about that, like you said, you have to unlearn. Like, those are things that I think that I think or I think I know, and then it's like, nope, that's not really how it was. So reading the scripture and studying the scripture. So
and it does tend to be something that like in the church, like, we don't talk about a lot. Like, I know that like in the Catholic tradition, like they have like a day whenever it turns out to be during the week, like that you have to go to church, and it's like they celebrate the Ascension, basically read the scripture and the story and all. But I think like in the evangelical church or other denominations like ours, like we don't go there. We kind of talk about, okay, well, Jesus rose from the dead. He's with his disciples a little bit, maybe about Thomas and the Emmaus Road or whatever. And then it's like, Pentecost, church, and then we go out.
Big party,
But just think about, like, I was thinking about how the disciples were still in this place of being stunned and shocked, and then now he's gone. Like, what the heck?
Absolutely.
Like, you just came back, and like, now what do I do? And you're saying this, and I don't understand about the spirit thing, and like, so just I was just kind of processing through the emotions and what it was like about how Jesus is really changing from his one a kind of presence with them to another, and they couldn't understand that at that point, and just how like we feel often the same way. There's places in our own faith, in our own growth,
where you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's coming next, and
yeah,
absolutely,
and how easy it is to like give up at that point,
mm-hmm.
or to just remain stunted, or to not allow that to grow and shape.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, with youth ministries, I feel like we're kind of at this little bit of a lull, and it's been exciting to kind of like in my own life kind of think of like, oh, well, this is what we've done, this should work, and then to kind of like be growing and learning that like maybe we just need to do things a little bit differently. And but then too, your comment today on like where 2 or 3 are gathered, Jesus is there, because I know we've had like small crowds, and it kind of like gives me encouragement that even when there's a small crowd, like what we're doing is worth it. And it's just exciting to even see the growth in the kids that have been faithful and have been coming. And
right.
So, but knowing that there's new ways, like doing that unlearning again. Like it doesn't have to always be the way it's been. It can be new and different. And so looking forward to some exciting stuff to come with that. So
and that's where I think it comes with like instead of looking at like this is an obstacle or being stuck. And I actually had like somebody after the message that just shared like I'm in like a spiritual wall, like not hearing from God how I once did, and things have changed with my family and just that kind of stuff. But how that is, all of that's an opportunity for growth, like where it is the struggle and just like the uncertainty like the disciples had, and the women and everybody that was around Jesus at that time, like that was an opportunity for them to be prepared for what was next.
I mean, definitely a big wall in my life, and I'm sure in lots of people's, was COVID.
Oh, yep.
I mean, all of a sudden, like you're so active, and the kids were that weekend in March ready to go to a regional FOL, like lots of stuff was happening, and then all of a sudden it's just everything is shut down, and not being able to gather with. I mean, we are kind of like if the doors are open, we're going to be there for the most part, and so to kind of go cold turkey and just the change. I mean, thankfully in our church we were able to continue the online, and that happened pretty quickly, and so that was a good thing. But boy, not being able to be around people, that was a huge valley for me for sure.
Right.
But this past year, I don't know, I've learned a lot of new things. I started with your talking me through how to download the Bible app. I have it on my phone, but like I've been doing the read through the Bible in a year thing. And if anybody knows me, I'm not a reader. I do not like to sit down and read a book. It's not my thing.
And
so
like, here's in book club. Come on, Pam.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. So I've been doing the audio version of it. You play button and it talks to you, and it's been really cool to go and study and like search deeper into the scriptures a little bit with that way. I love the Old Testament stories, like Joseph. That's like my favorite story ever. But to hear parts of that like you said in the sermon, you hear things, or you hear people talk about it, or you hear things and you're just kind of like, oh, well, that must be accurate. And then when you read it for yourself, you're like, wow, that's not the way it happened, or this is really what actually happened. And so it's been kind of cool to I'm sure. Well, I don't know, people probably say this. I've never read the Bible through in a year, ever. I'm not sure I've ever read it from cover to cover. I got saved when the day before I went away to college was the day I got saved. And, I got myself a brand new Bible, and then I got to school at ENC and I had to get a Bible. Right? But,
there you go.
I've read through, I've highlighted my page Bible, not the electronic version. But then reading the Bible through in the year, it goes through Numbers and Leviticus, and it's some of those are
climbing up that mountain.
Oh my gosh! And honestly, like right now I'm in Isaiah, and it's hard. It's a lot of like poetry and stuff. That I'm just kind of like
figurative speech.
Boy, I'm not sure I totally grasp it, because I'm hearing it and then I get distracted, and then I feel like I have to go back and actually read it. And So
the one I'm doing is the Bible Project which has little cartoon videos.
Well, that's what I'm doing.
Is that what you're
absolutely.
doing?
Yeah,
Do you watch which is super helpful because then it's like, oh, okay, that's how it's divided up, and that's how it.
Yeah, those are really cool. Now I'm driving, so I'm not really watching
you're not
them.
really
I'm listening to them, or sometimes I'll go back and rewatch them because they are the way they draw the things in them is a pretty cool thing.
It really brings things together.
It's great to help you learn how to understand what you're gonna read or what you're gonna hear.
Yeah.
In the next couple chapters or whatever. So
but it is like you said, I think like when you begin to like do that study for yourself, like, you know, and be intentional about it, whether it's reading or listening or it does shape how you see things. And like we don't realize how much we absorb, right? Like even when it comes to music and radio and television, like sometimes we turn it on in the background or that kind of thing, but we don't realize how much our brains are actually absorbing.
Yeah.
And even with kids, like it's shown that the more vulgar language that is in lyrics and is in on TV and movies and stuff, they just absorb it. Like they don't even realize that then it comes out of their mouths or that kind of thing. It's the same thing with adults too. Like, so that's where it comes in, that intentional kind of training and that learning, unlearning piece. Which I think is huge overall, but then when you are encountering something or need God's wisdom or facing a challenge, not that you've memorized, like I think memorizing scripture is great, but that's not, it's more, I think, embodying that and absorbing that and going back and saying, hey, you know what? Like, yeah, Joseph was thrown into prison unjustly. And like, I don't feel like I'm being treated unjustly now, but God is faithful.
Absolutely.
And those kind of things come to surface, like, but only if you've digested them.
Yeah. Like I was telling Pastor Chris something before. I'm not going to go into details here publicly, but you know, we had a stressful situation this week, and I really feel like I was able to get through that a lot more because of like, I don't know, studying scripture and praying more consistently, and just like the table groups, the
community,
be able to communicate with other people and learn from each other and different experiences. And I don't know, I don't think I would have been able to get through the situation that we had in the last week. And I mean, it's kind of been a long year, but I don't know, like I've definitely seen growth in myself to be able to get through that and instantly, you know, turn and rely on God to help. You know, I'm not an emotional person, but there were lots of tears shed and lots of like earnestly, like just crying out to God for help this week, because I wasn't sure what the outcome was going to be. And that was kind of like in my head, you know, the waiting part of the sermon. I was just like, we had to wait like a day or so for a answer that we were waiting on somebody else to give a response. And it was a very long 24 hours of like not knowing what was going to happen and knowing the outcome. And, but then also just being like, content with, you know, maybe the adapting part, like, you know, whatever the answer is, Lord, I'm comfortable with whatever the answer is. We will figure out, you know, what we're going to do based on what this person decides. Sadly, it's never fun to have someone else control your life in any situation, but you know, being comfortable and confident in, and being able to just say, you know, because I feel like I prayed enough, and I just was totally comfortable with whatever God kind of like was like, you know, I got this, and whatever the answer is, we'll get through it. So I don't know if in the past I would have been that calm and comfortable with it. So
and well, and as painful as that is, like to have to wait, like the kind of like then you were prepared for what that response would be like. Whereas, like, I think sometimes when we don't, like, have that pause or whatever, like, immediately we're going to react emotionally or when the right things might not come out of our mouths or things might not be at that point. So, so I think that's kind of what Jesus was teaching, that wait, like, you know, because he didn't think about, he didn't have to do that. Very easily, Jesus could have gone boom, and then it could have been psh.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And there were about 10 days in between when Jesus left and Pentecost happened. So 10 days worth of what, who, how, whatever. And I think that was that wall, that testing time.
Yeah.
But to say, trust me guys, you've come this far, you've seen this, you've been with me, trust me and wait.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing. It's
It
hard
is.
to do.
Gosh, that not knowing, that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then the other like pieces about like, yeah, like we said, with the gathering, being in community, and we realized through COVID how important that was, and you know, and continues to be. And but how like my instinct is always to cut myself off. Like if I'm, you know, you want to be kind of like lick your wounds by yourself.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, as soon as this situation happened, you know, I mean, I text 3 of my most faithful prayer warriors that I know of, and I said,
That's awesome.
can you please pray for the situation right now? Like, I need prayer right now. And then, you know, and they didn't even need to know why. I was just like, I'll explain later. And I got immediate responses back, praying for you. And I mean, that was so amazing. And I'm so grateful for the community that we have here, and just having that,
That's great.
you know, you can just reach out and people are, you know, right on it and loving you through whatever. So yeah.
And it takes time though to form those relationships.
It really does. Yeah. I mean,
be intentional.
Yep.
And vulnerable.
Yeah. Being vulnerable is not easy, is it? Not at all.
Yeah.
So throwing yourself out there and, you know, sharing a tough situation. But I mean, the people that I shared with, I knew they had my back, and so it's all good. But yeah. So that was definitely a wall this week. So,
no, for sure. Yeah. But I think like it comes down to it. Like sometimes some of the most fruitful times in our lives come after that, facing that wall.
Yeah, that was, you know, I mean, I wrote that down when you were like, you know, I don't know what I said or where I put it. You know, you have to get over the wall to kind of grow. And that really is like such a true thought. Like, you know, going through something, you just don't see.
You don't see it.
Yeah, you're just so focused on your current situation that you can't see that like through it. And then, you know, when you can look back, you know, hindsight's always better.
Right. True.
You know, just kind of realize, well, gosh, I really kind of came through that. And the reason why I came through it was because of the community that I have, and the things I've learned through personal study, and the things that I've learned through being more comfortable to like call out to God and ask for help. And,
and sometimes that's the only place that you can do that. So
yeah.
I think it's I think, you know, like I said, I preach to myself too. So you have to hear those words.
Absolutely.
It's good. Well, awesome. Well, thanks, Pam. Yeah, thanks for joining us today. And thanks for sharing your experiences and thoughts, because I think that really brings things home. And kind of like, you know, it's one thing to like hear something and even hear like, okay, Pastor Chris shares a story, but when you can see that like lived out and having seen in your own life and reflecting, I think that's makes it all that more powerful.
Absolutely.
So next week is Pentecost, and we'll celebrate the birthday of the church and have lots of great things
always
going on here. And
if you never come, you need to come. It's always a fun Sunday.
Yep.
So praying for no rain.
And and if you can't join us for whatever reason, then definitely worship online or check it out later, because it'll be a pretty awesome service too. So, but we can't really save you a hamburger, but
not so much. That's why you should come. It's
great,
great food, great fellowship.
Invite a friend. Yep.
There you go. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wear red.
Yep.
So.
Well, have a great week, guys, and we'll see you then. Take care.
Thanks.